Oh, did it again. 1 second.
I hear you, at least.
There we go. Didn't turn the camera on.
And myself.
Good, good. All right, welcome to Table Talk this week. Not gonna lie, a lot of this is just gonna be pure clickbait for people on YouTube.
Yeah! Scam them! Scam the viewers!
As I said, it's the real meta for Pathfinder 2e. I can't even just say, like, tabletop in general. I have to, like, specify a system, so... The real meta, where we're gonna talk about how meta is dumb. The real meta is there is no meta. Though Devin did make a good point. Attack of opportunity or opportunity attack is broken as fuck.
I completely agree. After being hit with opportunity attack last session, I completely agree. You are doing melee combat, get yourself opportunity attack. You will use it often.
It's good. I mean, it's only limiting in the fact that if an enemy has it, which not like even, I wouldn't even say like 10% of total enemies actually have it. But it is really scary, especially because a manipulate action also counts for somatic spellcasting.
Yeah, that part sucks.
You gotta be careful. It's not so bad unless the enemy has a reach weapon. Then it gets real nasty.
Yeah, it does.
Because that just extends the range and they just have to get up in your face. You can use the step action, which doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity.
Yeah.
But unless you're an elf, you can't step out of a reach weapons range.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's some other classes that also can get like a 10-foot step.
Probably. Don't monks have something to make them a little quicker?
I think Crane Stance gets an ability that lets them 10-foot step.
Sounds. To be fair, I looked at like 2 of the stances, so I'm not well versed in the other ones.
That's fair. I don't remember. I know Dragon Stance lets you step in difficult terrain.
Yeah, it does.
So, but yeah, enemies with reach and attack of opportunity are terrible. But I don't think it's overly broken. One, because most enemies don't have it, so there's that. And like if you're a DM and your players all have attack of opportunity, like get good at the game scrub. There's a lot of things you can do that bypass attack of opportunity.
Is there actually a feat to stop attack of opportunity or something?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of different feats that allow you to, like, you move and you don't provoke attacks of opportunity, or your move doesn't trigger actions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, if it's like monsters and anything, demoralize, which is the intimidation, doesn't provoke attack of opportunity. Any kind of trip or any kind of maneuver doesn't provoke it. Like, your enemies can do other things in combat.
Yeah.
That, doesn't provoke. And then there's stepping. And I'll tell you, even if you just force your monster to step like 2 times, it's frustrating for your players. Because they're like, no, let me hit you.
Yeah, let me punch you, please.
Let me punch you, please. But no. Well, first of all, let's talk about some I guess, not news, but like, what's it called? Announcements. That's what it is.
Okay.
So we just ended a new slate yesterday, which means that we're going to be starting a new campaign on Wednesday, the 13th of October. We're pushing it so far out because that's the same day that the Guns and Gears book comes out. And I want players to have the opportunity to use the things in that book. So there's a likelihood we might also be starting later. We'll see. I'll see what the players are saying, what they want to do. But we're just going to have to wait until that moment to find out. But we will be starting that October 13th. And it's going to be, I'm pretty sure, Wednesdays, 4 to 8 Pacific Standard Time, PM, obviously. There's a possibility it could be changed to Fridays, because Friday is another one of my work days that is viable. Just not both days. I have to have a day for editing and video production. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But if you're interested in joining, join the Discord, either in the description or down below on Twitch. And tomorrow I will be making an announcement for people who want to join the game. First come, first serve. I'll probably be doing a max of 5 people. Do not message me beforehand. Wait for the announcement. That way everyone has an equal chance to get into the game. So, with that being the case as well, we are still having our Monday, Tuesday games are all the same. Table Talk. Is Table Talk starting late from now on, Alex?
It'll have to. I get out of class and then I need to like make food and stuff. So I'll need it to start at 6.
Okay. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't think an hour difference is really going to change that much for people. I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to edit my schedule before verifying that, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be starting our table talks at 6 p.m. because school.
Yeah.
Fucking school. Always getting in the way of
It's
shit.
an important class, so. And I'm going to do some fun stuff, actually. Not like anything crazy like high budget or I guess like my own film, like feature film, but I'm working on corporate media and I already am planning 2 things. I'm going to be making a commercial for actual use by the nerd store in town. I'm going to make them a commercial for their Facebook. And because it's for like an actual person, I will get extra credit.
Sorry, trying to adjust the volume so that the song can be softly heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Really looking forward to that. Any word on that job opportunity yet?
Not yet. I'll know probably in like a week. Because right now they got like their last big shipment of stuff and they're like getting it over time. He was unpacking it when I went in to ask him some questions about like filming for him. And basically if it's just, they have to see if they have enough money, like sales, to actually support a new employee or 2. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, I hope you get it.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah. Video being produced tomorrow. I've changed my mind. Not tomorrow, Saturday. I'm not doing a video on clerics. I will do a video on clerics, but tomorrow I'm going to be talking about the new classes announced for Pathfinder, the occultist and the psychic.
Ooh, I like that last one.
Yeah, I know you do. Which is really interesting. The occultist is new, but it's like a variation on like an older like class from Pathfinder. And the psychic is interesting because they haven't had a psychic before. They had the kineticist, which was essentially a psychic.
Yeah.
So I was like half right, at least with one of my guesses. I'm so surprised they haven't gotten like the Inquisitor though, because that's like been one of the most hotly demanded classes.
Yeah.
But who knows? They might bring it out as an archetype dedication, which wouldn't be bad.
I could see it.
So I'm going to talk about those 2 in my next video. Also, just mostly just like the clicks, honestly. A lot of people are going to be looking it up. and it's an interesting subject, and I'll use my depth of knowledge in the system to, attempt to anticipate what kind of abilities they may or may not have.
Yeah, I'm curious. It'll, I'll be looking up and click that. I want to know what the psychic can do, or at least could possibly do. I know of the kineticist only through Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, not like what it actually could do on the tabletop.
About the same. Not many differences.
That's good.
But yeah. Anyway, I guess let's get into the meat of this video. And that's talking about meta for tabletop games in general, but we'll use Pathfinder as a frame of reference because that's the system that I currently know the best and have a pretty good inclination on like what is actually meta and what is meta or not meta. And for all intents and purposes, because I know the term is used a little differently in tabletop settings, we're not talking about utilizing outside table knowledge in game. Just because that's kind of lame no matter what you do, and I think everyone has the general same opinion on it. So
yeah, honestly,
it's not really a topic. Granted,
yeah,
I've straight up seen people blatantly do it in tabletop. So if you're one of those people, don't do that.
Stop doing it. It's not fun.
It's not fun for you.
Play the information your character knows. If you want to know something that you know outside a game, have a believable reason why your character would know such thing.
Yeah, or just be like, hey, my character's like really smart in this thing. Can you possibly know about this? And then DM can be like, sure, why not? Or no. And that's it. And then leave it there. Don't pick it back up. But anyway. So when it comes to meta, it's and this is also just for those people who are maybe not familiar with the term as well. Meta is in reference to the optimal gameplay or the optimal way of statting your character and playing a game to have the most success. It's not specifically for combat, though combat's the place where it kind of appears the most. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to have as many high level skills as possible, or I want to be able to roll as many skill checks as possible, in addition to like breaking the combat of the game. And it's always this the mid-max, like the character's really, really good to a point where they just emphasize the scenario at some things, and then they're really, really bad at a few small niche things that don't come up that often. That's true min-maxing. There's other kinds of min-maxing, because there's min-maxing where like my character is really, really strong, but also really, really dumb. Like that's not like munchkinizing your character. That's just your dynamic.
Yeah, that's also just like, a personification of a pretty common trend, at least in 5e. Because in 5e, intelligence is a pretty good dump stat. Like, honestly. Like, very few classes. If you're playing, like, the optimal way for a class, like, there's 2 classes that use intelligence. Everything else is kind of flavor, like, in a way. Or, like, it's good to have someone trained in certain intelligence skills, but if you have any sort of, like, wizard, you're kind of set.
Yeah, and like the most min-maxed build I think in D&D, at least currently, is like a hexblade fighter build. I think like you'll see it all the time on YouTube, especially. They'd be like, how to do more than 100 damage on average every turn, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And while I don't necessarily think doing a lot of damage is a bad thing, I think that that's just such a bizarre thing to like focus on. And also so my problem with meta in general is just the way that a lot of people look at it, which is just if you're not playing optimally, you're choosing to play suboptimally.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's in like a lot of games. I'm really not a fan of any sort of game where I'm doing a thing I find fun, playing a game I find fun. I want to do the thing I find fun. I don't care if it's good. Because even if like, oh, it's really good though, like, yeah, but is it fun for me?
Yeah, and like every game has a meta. There's always going to be an optimal way of doing something when there's a variation in stats and whatever, you know. Meta exists in all games. But
Yeah.
what you mentioned, I think that's the real meta. What's the funnest way to play my character? What's the character
Yes.
that can, I can get the most out of? And that, I believe, is what the true meta is for tabletop games. How can
Yeah,
I
it should be that.
optimize my fun?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. You're playing a game because it's fun. Like, play it how you find fun. And I think even then it's approaching on a weird topic because then I feel like an argument could be made that making my character as optimal as possible is the fun you have. And in that case, it's kind of what goes back to the first tabletop discussion we ever had, which is there's a table for everyone and you're not going to fit in at every table.
Well, and I actually want to make an addendum to the earlier statements. What's the optimal fun for myself and the table?
Yeah, because at that point, it's a courtesy thing. Like, it's the social contract of D&D. Like, don't have your fun and don't, like, use your weird min-max build that means no one can do anything. Like, and now you're the protagonist of the D&D session.
Yeah, the thing is, and everyone's like tabletop role-playing game, but I think a better, like, name for the genre would be cooperative storytelling game.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's the point. The whole point is for everyone to come and have fun and tell a story together. Like, it's something that, like, everyone has to acknowledge as a fact, because you can't play D&D by yourself otherwise. Literally impossible.
True.
So you have to be able to cooperate, and so the true meta is making sure that you and the table are having the most fun possible. If you make a broken in combat character, but everyone is enjoying themselves, that's great. That's fine. I don't see any problems with that. It's rare that happens.
We were in somewhat of that position.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of lame for Vale's build because Vale really wanted to melt people, and you
really
melted
bad.
them first.
I felt very bad about it. That's the thing. I just wanted to have a gun, and I made the game just non-combat-y, and it felt bad.
Yeah, and that's not your fault. That's Anima's fault. You didn't try to min-max your character. You just used something that was actually already in the book. You didn't even make it. Nope. If anything, all you did was optimize your stats so that you could do the thing in the book, regularly.
Yeah, exactly. I made it so I could shoot a gun. That's all I did, and then look what happened.
Yeah, and so that's not your fault. That was just I mean, like, the only thing we really could have changed for it is just like, hey, make your own techniques, or let's look at these techniques and see if they're broken. I think a change I'm doing for the next season is going to be better. I mean, just removing limited attack and limited block is going to change a whole bunch. Because you'll go from shooting 7 times to 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I want to play Arthur again in the future. I want him to make it so others can actually do things in combat. So I will happily work with you to limit it. Because I felt bad just in general, because I don't like doing that to people. But I mean, luckily we're also very roleplay heavy, so we can have fun with roleplay. Like, besides just in combat.
Yeah, and I think that That campaign was really good for, like, you guys had some great moments, and
Really
like
good
the Ass
moments.
Blaster scene is just
Yeah.
where everything came together, where Arthur's broken damage just crystallized into a great role-playing moment.
Yeah, and then
And then we
the
started
whole
recording after that.
Yep, and then the whole Rosencrantz deal. Like, that was a great time.
Yeah. And I think once Arthur was kind of traveling with the more power, or more like, a fight capable group, it was a lot less pronounced.
Yeah, honestly. And then it kind of just became, if the enemy hits Arthur, like, that's the viable strat for the enemy. Punch the guy who can shoot you with a fucking gun.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just how it is, Enemy's just like, that guy does some damage. I need to stop that now. But yeah, so, like, that's the thing, and this is, like, I think a rare instance of a player being like, I'm too powerful. I think I need to change something. Because, like, I'm also someone who doesn't like having all max stats. Every time I rolled stats in D&D, and I got, like, everything 16 plus, I'm like, hey, DM, can I have, like, a 9 in one stat? Just because I don't want to, I don't want to... I just don't... I like having flaws in my characters, and I just
having a shitty stat is really fun. That is a great time. Like, it's something that people, like, I guess, I feel like more people should put stock into. Like, having a low stat, you can build your character around it, like a really fun character, and then have a mechanical thing for the personality you built. Like, having, like, rolling, like, I had a character that I rolled a 5 on for wisdom, but had, like, I rolled, like, max for intelligence. So I was like, oh, I immediately know what type of character this is going to be. And I was immediately able to make a personality for it. And that's the kind of thing that's really fun with randomized stats in general, and letting yourself have character flaws in character creation. Which I love systems that actually make you have that. It's always really fun.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about Pathfinder is if you want that, even though the system does have randomized stats, you can do that. It's in the rules. But even without it, you can actually still do that just by not being trained in a skill, because eventually you're just not going to be able to make any roll with that skill, like, because of the way the system works. Like, that's what I like about Pathfinder is even if you have, like, bonuses in all your stats, as the game progresses, the gaps between differences in characters with certain, like, build styles becomes more and more apparent. Yeah. If 2 level 5 characters were to, like, or 2 level 7 characters is a good example, were to, like, use survival to track something, and one player was not trained and the other player was a master at it, that's a difference of, at minimum, without any attribute bonus, that's a difference of 13 points.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference.
That's a pretty big difference. The other character's not going to be rolling survival because they're just not going to be able to hit anywhere near, like... And even if the other character is trained, the difference still becomes, like, 4 or 5 points, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're looking at it, like, from a percentage standpoint, 5 points is a 25% difference.
Yeah.
Being 25% more likely to succeed at something is huge in tabletop.
Completely, yeah.
Especially with the frequency of what you roll,
True. Like, that's the thing that's great about Pathfinder. It's the things you're good at, you're good at. The things you're bad at, like, once you get high enough, at least. And the thing of once you get high enough level and trained, like, your character is just basically guaranteed to do certain things that they're good at. A form of guaranteed success is needed in like most of
It really is. 5th edition gets so sad when you're just like, I have a +7 to this and I fail.
I'm really happy I convinced Quentin that that he should enforce my idea of giving every person at least one thing of expertise.
Yeah,
He did that, and immediately a lot of people, like the characters, were like, "Oh yeah, my character's entire thing is like for Vale's case, like a very persuasive paladin who's really good at talking because Vale's great at roleplay, but they have a pretty shitty roll. Like now they have like a +13, like have a number like stat for like show a character's like intelligence. Our wizard now is really good at like Arcana." Like, obviously, because he's literally been studying magic for, like, years and years. It's that kind of thing.
I agree. And that's the sad thing about 5e, is without expertise, your character can just do really poorly at sets that you've been building the whole game. Like, I had some great roleplay moments with the character, and I was doing, like, some good persuasion, good intimidation, but my rolls were garbage. I was getting, like, 13s, and it's I wasn't rolling 13s, 13 was, like, what I was getting for the roll, which is not that high. It's barely above the, like, medium difficulty.
Yeah, exactly.
But in 5th edition, there's an easy fix for that. Like Alex said, expertise. It's a really good way to further and reinforce those numbers to make them much more likely to succeed.
Yeah, honestly, like any DMs possibly listening, it doesn't break your game. All it does is it lets your characters have one thing that they're very good at, and a thing that they're probably already heavily role-playing into because of their class backstory, etc. Just give one skill for expertise, you're fine. It'll just improve like the state of play.
And don't forget, they can still botch. You can still roll on that one.
Still can roll on that once, just like Pathfinder.
And there's no reason not to have if you're putting a chest on your map, you're doing so because you want your players to open it and get the loot inside. You're not doing it to just cockblock your players. If you are, you're a bad DM, and you shouldn't be running games. The whole point of the challenge of opening that chest is to reward the players for having their skill in the appropriate thing, that's the only reason why challenges exist, really, is to, one, make sure that the game is not just auto success. The players aren't just not beating every challenge without trying. But two, it's if a player is orientated towards that, that's what you put it in for, so that they can succeed at that and feel good about themselves. If you don't have passable challenges, there's no point. And that's why if you have a thief that can open any lock, then that one is just that one time, 1 in 20 chests that just something weird happens and they don't open it. And it's unfortunate, but it's that's just the random chance. But every 19 other chests, they can open it, without any problems, because that's how they built their character. And going kind of back onto the topic of what meta is, there's 3 modes of gameplay for any tabletop session. Not every session has all 3 of these modes, but there's only 3 different modes you can play, which is exploration, roleplay, combat. Those are the 3 modes. So I really want to know why everyone is so obsessed with a gameplay style that only succeeds at one of those playstyle modes.
That is combat, yeah.
That is combat, yeah.
Well,
why...
to be honest, fighting something very cool is very cool.
Yeah.
So it's very, very cool.
And winning in combat feels good. I'm not arguing that whatsoever. I'm just saying, like, when you look, I look everywhere, and because I look at D&D videos on YouTube a lot, I see a lot of D&D videos. Who would have fucking guessed? And you get these people coming out with like, oh, here's my fighter build. I can attack 20 times in one round. Here's the even better meteor swarm, where druids have a better meteor swarm than wizards with meteor swarm.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the meat ear swarm. Which
Yes,
is...
that's the druidic meat ear swarm.
Yeah, dropping cows on people.
Dropping cows on people.
Yeah.
It's not how the game works, actually.
It should.
But, like, the thing is just, like, why that's exciting is because it does better damage than the meteor swarm. They're not just, like, laughing at it because, like, oh, I just dropped cows on people, you know? It's like, oh, no, I'm dropping cows on people, and it does a lot of damage, which, again, is not how the game works. Because falling on an enemy in 5e, like, if anything, both of them take half the damage, I think is how it's written. So you actually remove it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The thing is just, like, so many people are so obsessed with damage numbers and efficiency in combat that they miss the other two pillars. And then there's those people who get the characters that are good at combat and exploration, where their character can pass any skill check and defeat any combat instantly. And, well, I find that personally annoying, because if your character can do everything, then what's the point?
I think it's like a nice Venn diagram. Like, I think that having your character good at two of those things and fail in one is a really interesting character, because that's really going to let more people shine in certain situations. Like, yeah, have a character that's really proficient in combat and exploration, but, like, they're not great at talking. And then you let your face character who's really good in exploration in, like, our roleplay, who's not great in combat, and then that character can back up the other.
Well, that's not really what roleplay is, though. Roleplay isn't facing. Roleplay is the narrative you tell with your characters.
That, I guess, is fair. Like, I mean, I meant, like, social challenges. More than
Yeah. And that's kind of more in the exploration aspect of it, because that's, you know, like, any challenges your characters come across. But roleplay specifically is the narrative story, because you can have a character who's really great at combat, and their characters are dull as, you know, like, oh, God. I can't think of, like, a good turn of phrase for it. Like, their characters are just are as exciting to watch as paint drying.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in combat, you're like, oh yeah, I do this, and this. Like, okay, cool. All right, we're going to town. It's like, okay, and then they get on their phone while you're in town, and then when you have to talk to them, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, what's happening?
Yeah, it's lame.
That's really bad. Like, oh, good. Fred about died. Or not. Okay, cool.
I've been in those boats, like the games like that. It's a little sad, honestly.
It's really bad. Every player should have a level of, like, role playing in their character. It's not mandated, though. It's not required by the rules. I just don't know why you would play a role-playing game without the roleplay aspects of it.
It's the issue of playing a role-playing game like a combat sim.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, some people love these games as dungeon crawling, like, games, you know?
Yeah.
They like the video game experience of it, where their character goes, and, like, the roleplay is more of a, oh, you're talking to this character, roll diplomacy to see if, you know, whatever. Like, everything is automated. The conversation doesn't have to, like, happen in character. It's just the DM kind of guiding you from story point to story point, and you just roll to see if you win or lose, you know?
Yeah.
Which is fair, and if that's the kind of game you like, that's fair. Like Alex said when talking about a table for every player, there's a table for you. But what I love about tabletop is role playing. Because why would you do anything else in a role playing game? You know? Like, the reason why I'm attracted to it is because you can tell interesting stories and narratives with your characters. And the stats just add to that. Because it's like, you completely bypass those situations where you make a badass character for your book, and it just seems very Mary Sue, like, why are they badass? And it's like, well, here you go. You got a game scenario, and your character is great at combat because of, you know, like, how you orientated your character. They're not just a broken character, they're just balanced in this way. And it gives you justification for your characters, you know, like, what they're good at and what they're bad at.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess it's because we're both very role-play story-driven people, but I usually find that, like, it's kind of fun to come up with flaws for your character, like, as you're playing them, because, like, I'll say for Calden, a big flaw of his is he's, like, really good at being persuasive in character, playing in character, like, subterfuge, all that shit, but he's not verbally intimidating. He's not able, like, I found myself playing Calden really good in a lot of the fields, but, like, really getting into his headspace, I could not, like, I couldn't have Calden play a threatening character. Like, he just wasn't able to talk the talk, but good lord, when things actually happen, he's pretty effective. And then play out your combat. Role play your combat like any other situation. Describe the things you do. Make it cool.
Yeah. How you finished Vogath was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, Calden doesn't have the dagger anymore, just so you know.
What?
It was loaned. He told me it was loaned.
Well, can Calden steal it? Just kidding, he wouldn't do that. He's not a criminal. He wouldn't steal it.
Just because, you know, the whole living world thing.
Yeah, of course. He'll probably use the money that he made to buy a better or similar dagger. Because he really liked that dagger.
That dagger was good. It was a really good dagger. But yeah, and that's the thing, is just like, the game really shines when you really get into the role play narrative aspects, but it also really shines when you get into the role gaming aspects. When your character fulfills a very special, like, job or function in the party, and they're the best at it, that feels good. Because I can tell you, because a lot of my players love playing Juggernaut characters. They love going up, taking an ass ton of damage, and walking away from it like nothing happens.
It's very cool.
And
I cannot relate because I've yet to play a character like that, but it's very cool.
But that's the thing, like, your Arthur, your Sebastian, one-shottable characters, you know? Like, because those exist, their character feels even better.
Yeah.
And that's why I've played with munchkins in the past. I've played with people who just want to be good at everything. They want to be great in combat. They want to use certain skills for, like, every role in the game, and they want to just have everything. Like, I used to hate Bardic Lore because Bardic Lore used to just make you good at literally everything. So you could just roll at everything, and it removed some viability for some builds because the bard could just do it.
You mean like what's currently the Jack of all trades stuff?
Kind of, yeah. In 5th edition, I think they have Jack of all trades, right?
Yeah, and you get half proficiency on all skills, which I actually really like, but I guess because of how I play it for my character. But, you know, I also, through my own sense of tabletop etiquette, I only really try to use my Jack of all trades in conjunction with a character that's really good at it. Because I think it's more fun if I am making an Arcana check with my wizard, because the wizard looks interested in the thing, so my character's like, huh, they seem interested. I wonder what that is. Or as in, like, the full, like, Spider-Man, like Spider-Verse, Miles, and like Peter, like the finger, like the hand on chin thing, like the following along. I really like
Right.
that.
Right.
I think it's always really fun.
Yeah, and the thing is just like in prior systems before, Bardic Lore used to be a lot stronger.
Okay.
It was like a universal jack of all trades where you were just, because what it was you just had a trained dot in your stat, and then you would add that bonus to, it's like 5th edition. It just, you would get like your full proficiency bonus to it, and or whatever. And in 5th edition, even it like half proficiency is still quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah.
As far as like, because they work with such small numbers.
Sure. And there's also the untrained improvisation, like feat in Pathfinder 2e.
True, but all that does is add your level.
Yep. Well, half your level, then your level.
Half your level, then your level. Which is strong, but simultaneously, for someone who actually has trained proficiency and higher, like master, there's still a 6-point difference. There's still a 30% difference.
Yeah, it doesn't do much.
Your character can roll for everything, and just because of how Pathfinder works or whatever, like, because you can augment your stats, like, you can get items that improve your stat by +1, +2. You can get, spells that increase your stats by +1, +2. Like, a character who's really trying to do well at a stat is going to do well at that stat, even against someone who has untried improvisation.
Like, I've also used that feat because it's at least, again, I like to run all my stuff a little weird to fit the character. I had Morgan had it because I viewed it as them just bullshitting, and like whenever they get really like high on that roll, it's because they're faking it till they make it, and they're actually correct, but they're just making shit up.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's the thing, is like that kind of runs into the same line of like, you can play with a min-maxer and it can still be fun. You can have a character who's great at everything and can still be fun for the players to play with. It's just, when I look at these people who are just like, I make a character who can do everything, they're excited that they can do everything. And when I've played with these people, they try to do everything.
Yeah, that's never that. I hate that. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves.
And then there's also like the opposite. There's a person who's like, I train to do everything, but I let other people do the skill checks, even though I know I'm better at them. Like, you don't want your other players being like, well, I don't want to because I know that they're just gonna succeed if I fail anyway.
Yeah.
Not saying that like Bardic or God,
Jack of all trades.
Yeah,
or
like
Jack of all trades,
Jack of all trades or untrained improvisation is like broken, because they're not the same, because the way the games work now, the characters who are trained are still better. But there have been games I played before, or builds before, where a character could just be good at everything, and to a level that's really dumb. Anima's really bad about that, because
yes,
there's a lot of spells that are just like, oh yeah, I boost my athletics to like 150 as the squishy wizard,
Yeah, I will say too, and with Bardic Lore, and then there's a point I realized I want to make. Like after once I learned what your topic was, it's run like this mainly for my bard, and I'm really happy that it's been run this way, because whenever I use Bardic Lore, I always envision it, with at least how my character plays, is making a check alongside someone who's like really good at it, and then like if someone rolls better, like it's say like for example me and the wizard, we're both looking at this arcane rune. I somehow with like a +3 in my like roll higher than the wizard, because they just didn't roll too hot, but they still did really well. I get like a 22 or something, and the wizard got a 20. Then how I usually kind of run it, or like at least like higher check, then makes a higher DC. It's like, oh, the wizard knows this thing, is pointing it out, and then like, oh, my character points out a thing they might have missed, or a thing like how it's always run. It's like, oh, I've experienced that, I've done that. because that's at least how Quentin said he interprets Jack of all trades, which I agree. Actually, that's how I interpret it too. Is it's because the bard has done so many things in their life that it is just, I know this because I've done this, but I'm not like great at it because I haven't studied it. I've just done it before. Like I've stitched up a wound once or twice, but only once or twice compared to the doctor character. Like that kind of deal. And that's how I think is what's fun about it. And yeah, the version you're talking about in like old edition, that sounds really busted and annoying.
Yeah,
To be honest.
That's why a lot of people liked playing Bard back in the day.
Yeah.
Also, something to mention about Pathfinder as well, what I really, really like. Untrained improvisation still doesn't let you pick higher level skill feats for those stats.
Yeah.
You still need trained proficiency in them.
Exactly.
And if you want the stat and you become trained in it, you get no benefit for untrained improvisation anymore. So
yeah, it makes sense.
And that's something that 5th edition doesn't do. So, it's just one of those things where it's just like, Paizo has done really well at making a game where your build matters. And I love that. I really, really like that. I've heard some people coming up with like, well, I hate it because if my character comes up with a good idea, I have to be like, oh, sorry, you can't do it because there's a feat for that. And I think that's such a lame excuse because it's like, oh, I hate this game because it verifies builds.
Yeah, I would say for that, like, I would need examples. Because on one hand, I get that. Like, it's kind of lame to be like, oh, I want to do this really cool thing. And then your DM's like, oh, sorry, there's a feat, can't do it. Because I'm also just, I don't like saying no like that to a player. But honestly, I would need examples on that side to really, like, have an opinion of it. I've never heard that before, too, like, as a criticism of it.
Well, like, one of them is just like, my character used to be in a circus, but I don't have the catfall feat. Can I just tuck and roll as I hit the ground? And it's like, well, yes, that makes sense.
That's a bit weird.
It's like, because I've done it before, or there's like a bunch of things. And the thing is that it can just be solved by the DM. Rather than automatically doing it, as someone with the feat may do, you might make the DC harder and let them try.
Yeah, that's what I would
do. You have to be like one of the things I'd be like is like, well, yeah, you understand like the practicalness of it. You understand how, like, tucking and rolling, what it does, but you've never practiced it before. And no one ever does anything purely on theory. It's always based on practice. That's what the feat represents, is that your character has developed a skill to do something like that. So, like, there are ways around it, and I think it's a really lame excuse. But nonetheless, roleplay needs to take priority. You just need to not abuse roleplay, You don't sit there and be like, well, okay, outside of the game, I have time to think while my character is falling, because when your character is falling, they're panicking, they're not thinking straight, and they have like 2 seconds to figure it out, while you outside of the game has like, whatever, and you're not panicking, and like it's non-equatable. Just because you like can think about it outside a game doesn't mean your character can do it in that moment, And that's another thing as well, is just like I've heard people who get upset and it's like, well, like, I know how this works though. I know that you can make a bomb this way. It's just like, okay, your character doesn't, because your character is not you.
Yeah, exactly. Your character hasn't read the fucking wiki on the place they live. Like, hasn't read through the rule book.
In fact, the sheer number of literate characters in a lot of these settings actually is bonkers. Because a lot of these settings, like, standardly, a lot of people were illiterate. I don't think characters should be illiterate. I'm just saying that, like, you can't logic your way through these kind of things, because your character does not have those same kind of advantages that you do.
Yeah, I mean that's funny that you say that because for a lot of my characters, I actually have like reasons why they know how to read. Um, and I mean, for example, Garvey he could read not well though. He knew how to read the things that were important to his job. He wasn't a great reader. Or Calden, like he could read, but like he taught himself how to, and he found a way to like learn how to read, but it took effort. It's funny, like it's one of those things where I think like that shouldn't be a thing because like sometimes for the sake of game and just having fun, you need to just get rid of like some realism.
Yeah,
that's just a necessity. But like I always found it kind of fun to come up with a reason why they know how to read if their backstory is like they came from nothing. They were an orphan born on the street. Day one. It's like, well, how do they know how to read then? I usually come up with a reason, just for my own sake.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like how Vale plays. Finwith is a smart character. And yeah, they can't read common. So, that comes up and it's like they understand Latin, but they don't read it and everything. Like Vale takes that into consideration as well. It's just like it's just the obsession of winning, I think, just doesn't belong in tabletop because good stories and good narratives are made on the foundations of failure.
Very true.
And it doesn't have to be your own character's failures. It can be the failures of the nation you live in or the world, Like, the reason why your characters are always the ones who are the ones who defeat the Demon King, it's not because people haven't tried, they just all failed. Your characters are supposed to be special.
Yeah, because in that case too, it's like a point I wanted to make, and I think it's a pretty important point to make because you brought it up slightly. Like it's okay to play a character who's really powerful, good at a lot of things, and all that. Like as long as you have a character that has character. Like if you're just a vessel for your stats, boring. But if your character's really powerful and like really like strong in a lot of fields, but they're an interesting character, it kind of makes up for it. Because then like they'll use it in a way that's a bit more fun and fair for everyone on the table and all that. Like I think at least the most important thing is just making sure your character is a character and not just a fucking like character sheet.
Yeah, and I think there's other things as well that kind of lean into it is like everyone's watched like a show or an anime where one character is particularly badass, and you don't hate that character because they're badass or strong. If anything, you like it because of that, like Alucard from Hellsing, super badass character, love the character, nigh unkillable really, and I love his character and he's interesting and I watch it and I'm excited to watch him be badass. So being powerful isn't bad for story. It's being powerful for lack of reason, like narratively, and lack of character narratively is where it starts falling apart. Then you get the Supermans.
I'd also say it's powerful, but without like overshadowing, overtaking, or ruining, like not at anyone else's expense. Like not the powerful character who always comes in last second, saves the day every time, basically just saying like the Goku shit, being like right. Everything that happens before Goku fights the big bad is essentially pointless.
It's all to make Goku look better. Is all
exactly.
That is.
Exactly, and that should not happen in tabletop.
And that's the thing, is just like you can utilize powers like that to your advantage, like you have a character who's really good in combat and you're trying to like sneak into an enemy base. You just be like, okay, I'm gonna go and storm the gate, and you all use that as a distraction. And I'll tell you, in any tabletop game, that's a bad idea, no matter how strong your character
Absolutely horrible. Don't do that.
The action economy will eat you alive. But that's something where, like, you're not really stealing the show. You're utilizing your power to help everyone else succeed. And the way you can go handle that combat as well is just holding the enemies off just long enough and then backing out of it. Or maybe your character is a big enough badass and they can go handle it. If you're a DM and you see this situation, make the enemies that they're facing weaker so that the combat goes by smoother, and make it fast-paced. If a player is actually going to go do this and they are a reasonably strong character, just be like, just throw chaff at them. Throw just nothing but like level 1 guards at them. Let them one-shot a bunch of them. Let them feel cool. And then get done with it in like 20 minutes. And then move to everyone else.
Even have it be like almost an initiative thing of like back and forth from each side. Like one side's climbing up through the back, doing a bunch of stealth stuff. Quick, make an acrobatics to see if you're climbing the wall right. All right, you in combat, make an attack roll and like describe them like doing some cool shit to like a guard or two, and like hop back and forth. Make it more of like a skill check fight than like a fight. Because that could be a really fun scene that people are going to talk about. Like that's a story from your game if you can make an exciting, fast-paced like combat distraction with like scaling the castle wall, sneaking through a window, stealing keys off of a sleeping guard, all while your friend is downstairs, making it guaranteed that the other party isn't going to be seen. Like that could be a great scene, and like just doing something kind of fun, quick, and also letting characters shine in that way, both the combat character and, say, a rogue character that's guiding the rest of the party through the castle. That's a cool thing to do, where you're really showing off these two characters that have worked really hard to make their builds do very specific things, and you're letting them shine in a cool way.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good idea. Good idea, Alex. That's just, that's all it takes. It's like and if you're the player who's the strong character, or whatever, don't bitch that you don't get to use your abilities in this scenario, Don't bitch like, no, I want to roll the damage numbers. I want to see where we're at. Like, you're already taking up a scene by yourself. Just roll with it.
Yeah, and then
you get to be strong.
Because imagine like a really high level campaign, and like either it's high level or it's low level. Low level, you're like dodging and weaving, maybe taking a few hits from these guys, and like, but you're weathering off the damage because you're heavily armored and really skilled. But like high level, you're like one swing cleaves through 5 men, like that kind of deal. And then it's a distraction of there's an unkillable juggernaut downstairs. Everyone get here. And then, meanwhile, the B team is in the back setting up some sort of thing to, like, a pincer move almost. And then you just have this castle, like, all the guards of a castle surrounded, and then, like, a victory that way. Like, that could be super fun. And I could see that being, like, a hype moment for everyone at the table. Because, honestly, I want to do that. That sounds like a great time.
Yeah, right? So, like, bam, right there. That's meta. That's the meta of tabletop.
Now that's the real meta of
That's
tabletop.
the real meta of tabletop, yeah.
The real meta of tabletop is the fun you have.
Exactly. How many cool moments can you make? You know what? Yeah, that's the fucking meta. How many cool moments can I make in one session? There you go. Granted, don't do that. Don't try to do that anyway. I don't need a player going there just like, oh, I do this and that and flip over this or that, like, for every little thing, please.
Yeah, keep it to like certain things. I do that. I keep it to combats. If and like I usually wait until I guess I hear if it's a success until I describe what I do. I'll go a little extra if it's like the final kill. That's usually when I do. unless I'm feeling a little spicy, like last session.
Yeah.
I was feeling a little spicy that night. I wanted to describe all the cool shit Galton was doing in combat.
Yeah, and that was great. I liked it. That was really, really good. Plus it sucks when no one else does it because the DM is the one who has to do all the cool role play for it. So,
I usually do it for my players like that I've played for. I find it fun, but I've also found if I do it enough, the players start doing it for me.
I've been doing this a long time, and I'll tell you that's not the case.
It was for my table, so not for everybody, but for a drug people take up that mantle. It's not everyone's thing. Not everyone can describe a cool like fight thing. It's very hard. I have to be in a very specific like thought process. And you know what has helped? Playing Blade and Sorcery. That has actually helped me describe melee combat because I'm like remembering the things I would do if I was in Blade and Sorcery.
That's fair.
Because in Blade and Sorcery, I really like using a dagger. I think it's very fun. And I'm also very constantly doing it also because whenever I see it in a show or movie, I think it's the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen. Like tossing the dagger around in your hands, like flipping it constantly, like attacking from all angles almost, like in really quick succession. I think it's super cool. And I also play a lot of like glass cannon crit stuff in any game I play. So usually in games I'm using daggers, and it helps because I think they're fun.
I like hand to hand. I'm such a fisticuffs person.
It is fair. I will say, if I've watched something like a martial arts anime or something, I usually want to play a hand-to-hand character. Like watching Kengan, I was really like, oh, monks.
Yeah, I remember.
That's what I was literally during combat with Bishop. I was describing Kengan moves. I saw them too.
Pretty much.
It was very cool though, and it's always really fun to describe those.
But in the end, I think making a cooler story element is better than just playing optimally, like hands down.
Yeah.
Peak was a really good example in our Tuesday games because Peak was a non-cleric healer, and it was a cool aesthetic. I really liked the idea, and it was really cool to see a viable non-cleric healer. Yeah. Doing it, and you guys and the team did really well with them. For a really long time. True. Even though cleric, I've been reading cleric a lot lately because I was gonna make a video on. Well, I will be making a video on them. They get an ability that just lets them max roll their tree wounds.
Huh.
Yeah, they get a feat for it, so it's like you literally can't out heal a cleric. It's impossible. They can do everything you can do better. But that doesn't matter. I think I like the idea of an investigator who is, the battle medic for their team who doesn't use magic is way more interesting than the cleric who goes heal.
Yeah, it's way cooler.
Back to full health. I mean, to be fair though, a cleric who is actually like a doctor or not just like a holy healer character also sounds really cool.
I mean, it sounds doable because like I feel like because a thing that is pretty relevant is like back in like those like medieval times, a lot of people that were like highly trained in things were religious and like worked in religious institutions because that's where you would go. That's True. What you were. Like people that could write were religious scribes. They didn't just transcribe the Bible 24/7. Some did, but like they wrote the books in that time period. The manuscripts are from like medieval Christian monks because they just knew how to write. Yeah. I think you can make a really cool cleric character that is actually trained in medicine and like could use like divine healing as almost a backup. Like, oh, my physical medicine skill isn't working here. I need the grace of my God to help me here. That actually sounds like a fun character, like a fun healer.
And you know what? They also get another feat that lets them swap out their heals from their extra slots or fonts for things like remove curse, restoration, all that kind of stuff.
That's a fun ability. I like that a lot.
So mixing that with the holy healer kind of stuff, that's a really cool character idea. See, bam, not optimal, but really cool.
Yeah, and then people are going to be like, I like that character you played. And you're like, yes, they're a cool character. And that's where that ends.
Yeah, that's it. That's where you go. And I also just hate when people make characters who are badass from the get-go. Where they're just like, oh yeah, my character, he's been through a lot of battles and he's very cold, and you know, and like the stereotypical like Mary Sue warrior kind of character.
It's just like, calm down, you're level 1.
Calm down, you're level 1. Even if you came in at level 10, you know, or whatever. Like, the characters I like, they're like I like the archetype of the veteran fighter who knows what's going on and just has this like, it's a good day to die kind of mentality, where they just take nothing seriously besides the battle. And they always go into the battle expecting to die because they know that you're not going to win every fight. I like those kind of characters. I don't like the characters who are just like, living has been misery. My parents were killed when I was a child.
Yeah.
You know, I just now murder. I'm like, even fucking Guts.
Yeah, Guts of all people.
Yeah, Guts of all people. Fucking was born on a battlefield from his dead mother.
Yeah, he was born from a corpse of a mother who was hung, probably as some sort of religious thing. Has literally one of the most depressing backstories, because you go through his entire life where you see the depths he falls, and also what makes it cool is he gets past it. Because that point of him being an utter shithead, he's an utter shithead, and everyone knows it, and people call him out on it. My favorite scene in all of Berserk is a scene that's like, it takes place like really close after the Black Swordsman arc, which is the first one, where Guts is peak asshole, and it's this character, this mentor figure, telling him like, you need to stop and calm down. And he uses the metaphor of like, you're a sword with a crack in it. At this point, you're fine. You're held together. But the more you do this, eventually that sword is going to break. And there's a great part where Guts is like, what do you know? Like, you don't know what I've been through. You've been here in your house making your swords. I've seen the worst thing humanity has. All my friends died in front of me. And then immediately is like, oh yeah, well, what have you done for your friends then? You're wallowing in your own anger. It's a great scene. I can describe a lot of Berserk stuff because Guts is a very, very good character, and people misinterpret it and make characters like, oh, this is my Guts-like character, and it's just angry asshole. It's like there should be more to it, because you can play the asshole character that's like, oh, I'm really fucked up. My parents died, and like my parents were killed. No, I take revenge on everyone. It's like, yeah, cool. You can play that character. No one's going to take you seriously. Just right out the bat, just warning you. Everyone's going to think you're kind of a loser. But if that's your point and you're making a character arc that is getting over that, you could make a fun character. There you go. Another character idea. Make an edgy rogue that turns into a likable person. There you go.
Yeah. You know, like literally in my game and Suzanne's game on Monday, I'm playing the son of a lumberjack who you know, doesn't know anything, and he's so like unsure and so like socially intimidated all the time. And he's just slowly figuring out that like he has a lot of talents that make him an adventurer. Like, he's not a badass. I'm making a Devil May Cry kind of like character, because that's the kind of mentality I'm going, because he's a swashbuckler, so it's all style melee combat.
Exactly.
And he's a changeling, so he's born from an anisag, which makes him strong and durable. And I make him a fucking loser at the very beginning, and just figure out that like he actually is kind of talented, and he still has to like get over all this like self-doubt he has, or these poor self-image like images he has, because he's also like kind of an ugly character. Like, I picked art for the character where it's just like he's got like the Farquaad kind of like face on a big string bean like character.
Oh no, poor lad.
And like just as he goes, he's gonna get like better and better and more like actually good looking and everything like that. But like I'm building up to it. I make him a fucking loser, and then I build up to it, you know. And that's the exact same thing. You make super edgy rogue who's a loser because everyone knows he's just being an edgelord, and then turn him into an actually good character. This is the meta. This is the meta we're talking about here. These are things that you do in your game that's really cool, that gives you a very nice, satisfying, fulfilling character that you can justify all the cool things you can do with your builds. And you just can't stat yourself that way. Stats don't make a character. It's the narrative that makes the character. So make a good narrative.
Yes, completely. That is, make your character, like, honestly, a good kind of like way I approach it and how I recommend is, this is, I guess, personal taste too, but I think it's really good to have a character that is built as in they're not going to be the same when it ends. They will start one way, they will end another way. Do you know where it's going to be? Probably not. Maybe you do. I sometimes do. But it's how do they get there and how does your character change over time? That is way more interesting of a character, having a very fluid and dynamic character rather than just a very static character. Those kind of stories can work, but like people remember the character arcs, like the redemption arcs, the arcs where someone gets over a big thing in their life and they can move past it. That's the stuff that like sticks to people, not the characters like, oh, remember Joe the fighter? Yeah, they were kind of cool. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
about this other character.
Yeah, right. You know, I've had broken characters in games before, and then they ended up leaving, and then the story continued on fine without them.
Yep.
And it was like, and then we have, you know, games where we have shithead Garvey who dies, and like we had to take a break. We had to take a break. It was so sad.
Yeah, it was tough, but you know, that stuff is what makes it fun. Make yourself a character that changes over time, and just is going to be fun. People are going to talk about it. You know you've done it well when people talk about your character, and you talk about your character like it's like a character in a TV show, and you're like analyzing your own shit. That's what makes it cool. That's my favorite bit. I love talking about my character and realizing things about them as I play them, and realizing things after the fact of like, why is my character doing this? Why did my character immediately think to do this? That's what I had to do with Calden. I meant him to be a pretty nice guy. I didn't realize how fucking brutal he was. I didn't expect it.
Kind of a sociopath.
A little, and then the question is, why is he like that? And then I have to tackle this. And it was, I mentioned it to Beb, like, if Fiola called him out on like what he did, he wouldn't have an answer, and he would like honestly be like a little like concerned, like, why did I do that? Why was I just okay with murdering a man and like supplanting him just to do this very minor thing? It was, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing that I hope I can explore later on in a future campaign where I play Calden, like higher level Calden, where it's like, what is going on with him? Is it like hag thing? Is it upbringing? Like what happened that just made him okay with these actions?
Yeah, it's always great when the character takes a life of their own. When you're there and you're so immersed that you can't even explain what you did in a given moment.
That's my dream for every character. It's how I know I succeeded, when that happens. If I don't have those moments, and it's been like a decent chunk, that's when I attribute it to character failure. At least on my end. I need to get super immersed in a character to fully enjoy them.
That's why it's always important to have a little bit of yourself in every character. Yeah. I honestly don't know what much more we can say on the subject of like meta as far as like making optimal builds, because there's nothing wrong with making an efficient build. There's nothing wrong with playing like optimally, but there was this big controversy back like a year ago now, I think, where the Taking 20 guy was like, hey, we're not going to play Pathfinder more because there's an illusion of choice in the game, and that every time we play, we're just doing the same things over and over and over. And literally the whole community fucking exploded because they're like, what are you fucking talking about, that there's an illusion of choice? And like one of his points was, if you're choosing to play inoptimally, or if you're choosing to play inoptimally, you're choosing to play worse than you could. And that was such just a terrible line that really represents just what's not good about tabletop in some communities, where you just get this mentality of just people who play the game and they only think that optimal choices are the only way to go, you know? And then he like backtracked, and like it was a huge mess, and he he paid the price. He paid the price for that mentality.
Honestly, I can say, like, I remember you told me about this when it was happening, and my opinion still stands. Kind of sounds like a loser. Like, that's really lame.
That's what everyone said.
Yeah,
and then it got butthurt when everyone was calling him a loser. It's like,
yeah, it's like, what a loser. Like, come on, dude. That just sounds like, you know, not like letting a character just shine in a way. I don't know. Like, it's a story you're telling. Like, you're not gonna tell a story suboptimally unless you're just not telling a story.
Yeah, and use the abilities you want to use. Like, if your DM is forcing you to play meta to beat an encounter, find a different DM. Like, what kind of videos do you watch in League of Legends or whatever game you play a lot of? Do you watch the ones where they're playing super, like, high pro meta? Or do you watch the one with the guy who's just like, I found a really funny build and I'm going to play it and see if I can win?
I mean, that always sounds more fun.
Yeah, and, like, to be fair, I've watched both. I watched one to see, like, how I can improve, and I watched the other because it's entertaining. But I'll tell you, the one where I'm trying to improve is not being watched for entertainment purposes. Education.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing, is just like, any game you play, the videos that do the best, I guarantee, are where they do the stupidest thing and get away with it.
That's my favorite thing in, like, Warhammer, for example. It's that I always attribute it. There are 3 types of, like, lists in Warhammer. There's actually, no, I'd say there's 2 lists in competitive play that you'll see. Like, high up competitive. It's the meta good. Like, this is the list everyone takes because it's the best unit comprehension. Like, there are tournament standard lists. And then there's the, is that allowed? Like, lists. And they're the ones who win. Like, there's the, oh yes, I'm running 4 of these big scary, like, dreadnoughts. And you're like, can you do that? Then you read it over and, like, read the rules. You're like, yeah, they can. Okay. Cool, I guess. And then it's those lists are always so fun to read the, like, reports on what happened, because you're like, yeah, I don't blame that the opponent lost against that thing. It's, or even in fighting games, like, there's the amazing story where the guy, because I follow a lot of fighting game, like, community stuff, the Tekken player who beat the world championship of Tekken with absolute Panda. Worst character, Panda, to the point where the creator of the game, after shaking his hand and congratulating him, said, Panda? You picked Panda? Really? And the reason he won is because no one knew how to fight Panda, because no one plays Panda. And that's always, and he said also, he tried, I watched a really cool, like, 20-minute documentary on like, the story. And there's a really cool thing where he mentions, like, I tried playing the top tier characters, like Devil Jean or something. And he's just like, I wasn't having as much fun, so I just kept defaulting to Panda, a character I really liked playing. And that carried him. And that's what you should do. You should play the Panda of your D&D party.
Please don't. play a character that actually has some good story narrative to it.
I'm not saying play a literal panda. I'm saying play something.
No,
something
they're gonna play
fun.
literal pandas now. You
Good, do it.
Tabletop.
Escape Zoo's D&D game. And all of you play Escape Zoo animals.
And like Devin's been mentioning, he's been in the chat. Thank you, Devin, for being the sole carry for our chat today. What a Chad. He's been enjoying Galen, and Galen's actually a really fun character. He's a fighter who has like lore master and bard feats, who just knows a lot of things, and like a lot of his maneuvers are just him like either learning things about enemies or like setting them up to get like comboed. That's how he fights. That's how he uses his character. I think it's a really fun, interesting character. It's not optimal. Like, the most optimal thing is using a polearm with attack of opportunity as a fighter. That's it. Everything else, he doesn't even have like power attack or anything like that. He just does. It's just an interesting idea, and it works, and it functionally like helps the game. We still win the encounters. We still beat the encounters. So like, why do you need to that's another thing as well. Why do you have to min-max and munchkinize your character so much when you can literally do something more fun and still be the encounter?
Yeah. It's what matters. Play something that's fun. Play something that you like. This comes up in Warhammer, because in my army I play, there are units I run, and I run a lot of them, that are just objectively not as good as another unit. The other unit is cheaper, a little easier to use, has a little better things, and just all in all is a better pick. But I always run the unit I find more fun. They're called Wardens. I really like them. They have cool axes. They are very scary when I use them. I like them because I find them fun, and I run them, and they're in every list I play because I like them and I find them fun. And I've also found a fun combo for them that I really enjoy. So, and I like having them in a way that when I move them towards the enemy, my opponent gets scared. That's fun for me, and that's what matters. You find something that you like to do and you do it, even when there's just better shit. Do something you find fun, because that's what matters first and foremost.
I remember this one person I played with once or twice. We were playing Anima because why not, playing with someone new, and he was upset that I set attributes. I have defined attributes starting, and he just really wanted to roll his attributes, and I didn't realize until just now, if someone is complaining about rolled attributes, they're complaining that they're not getting a broken attribute in the list. Because here's the thing about the probabilities of it, right? If you roll your stats, you have a chance of having a high attribute as at least one of your rolls. You roll 6 times, and you have what these people are looking for is that one high roll in the mix. That's what they want.
Very true. Yes, very true.
That's what they want. A lot of people are just well, I like having bad stats. It's just you're doing the opposite thing that they are. When you're rolling because you want a bad stat. So you're telling me that you want to roll because it will give you a bad stat, right? So it's literally the same thing, just from a different perspective.
Yeah. Though I will say, when I was saying about having the rolled stats, I'm always hoping for the 18. That doesn't leave my head. I'm ooh, what an 18 though. That'd be pretty cool.
Right? Yeah. And that's the thing, is just that's why these people want to do it. I like Pathfinder because in Pathfinder you get so many high stats. So many high stats that you don't really need to worry about it, and you can just build as you want. And even if you roll rather general, or not roll, but even if you have rather general stats, nothing strong, nothing weak, your character still gets really good at the things you want them to be good at. The attributes are just a 5-10% chance difference.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that just now, just like thinking on the whole topic of meta and just like, oh yeah, I just want the, you know, like there's these units that are just like functioning a little bit better, functioning a little bit like this, that, or whatever. And that's just reminded me of like, that's why they like to roll stats, statistically speaking, especially because a lot of GMs also give a mulligan roll.
Yep.
You just have a statistically really good chance of getting like a 16 plus on your stats. And they're just looking for that one. They don't care about anything else. You know, and if they have multiple, like I played a D&D character with really broken stats. Nikos had like 3 stats over 20 by the time we were done.
Yeah.
I wasn't the one who did the most damage in our group, I'll tell you.
No, you were not.
No. That was the paladin.
Yes, it was. By the way, this should be on the record. Paladin is the best class in 5e, and you're just wrong if you think otherwise. I immediately got called out.
Yeah, I heard.
He says Barbarian's the best class.
Oh god, Totem Barbarian is really hard to beat. It's not the best class though. Fighter's the best class, if you're asking statistically speaking. If you're asking my opinion, Warlock's the best class. Because it just comes with baked-in story goodness, and if you don't play a Hexblade build, you can do some really fun stuff with them, actually.
I think, yeah, I mean, Warlocks are one of my favorites story-wise, but Paladins are great. I fucking love Paladins. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Paladins.
Yeah, you just like those smites.
I want the high number. I want the big number in all the D8s.
Don't be like Alex, kids. Play what you want. Don't play Paladin.
Yeah, no, you can play whatever you want, but play Paladin. Because right now I think my favorite classes in 5e is Paladin. Paladin mechanically is my favorite. Honestly, like I think the mechanics I get, Paladin is my favorite. But
they have one mechanic. It's called
but it's so
Smite.
cool. It's such a cool mechanic.
You're full of shit.
So many fun D8s. And then actual like outside of combat or like just mechanic stuff, it's Bard and Warlock. Because I think the actual thing that makes up their class, the amount of creativity that comes with it, the amount of like flexibility from you and your DM side, Warlock and Bard. And you know what? If you want to get a little spicy, why not do them both at the same time? That's what I'm doing, and it's a great fucking time because you get the Warlock side with your patron and your DM going along with it if they're cool, and really going in on like your patron and your relationship with your patron, and you get to go in on your art form and like go really hard into like what your Bard is good at and like how cool they are at performing their art. That's what makes it fun. Like, outside of the general mechanics, it's Warlock and Bard. Paladin's the best because Smite exists. And Pathfinder Paladins will always live in its shadow. You should... Okay, this is another thing you should tell Mr. John Paizo of when you get the chance. Another recommendation from me.
Mm-hmm.
If you play a paladin that never smites, Devin, I think I will pop a blood vessel. Like I will just burst a vein. I'll be so upset. White knuckled the entire time. Just you got a nat 20. You better use your highest smite. It's like I hit again. No.
Banishing smite.
Ugh. All the other smites suck. Oh, there's one good smite, and it's the smite from the class. Yeah, but utility and this one's useful. Yeah, but more damage. You get to roll more damage.
Shut up, Alex. Shut up. See, these are the kind of deviants you want to stay away from, kids.
I can't wait to host a table talk, and it's 2 hours of me just saying D8s are fun to roll.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it was so great getting to play Monk, but you know what it needed? Smite.
I'll make a video called "The Failing of Every 5e Class," and it's just Smite. But then when you see it, like, I'll just skip Paladin.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll go like Monk to Sorcerer. You're like, wait a minute.
No, Paladin will be on the screen and you'll just look at it for a second. And
then
like,
just-
moving on.
Moving on. How can I judge something?
It's just different ways of you saying that the class needs smite.
Essentially. I feel like the actual burst damage of the wizard is a little lacking. I feel like if the wizard had some sort of ability that let them just roll a large number of damage dice on a single attack after the fact, it might be a little better.
I think their spells just need more radiant damage
And a little more
and
D8s.
just using D8s.
That's how I would how I would rate this. That sounds like a really stupid video to make that like no one would get outside of this group. I kind of want to do it.
No, everyone who's played 5e knows about Paladin.
Everyone who plays Paladin would get it. So,
You know, actually, interestingly enough, clerics get smite in Pathfinder.
do they?
Yeah.
Huh.
They get God, what's it called? It's actually a really good smite. It's actually like more of the smite you love than the Paladin's version of smite. Yeah, channel smite.
What does that do?
What it does? It's the original spell strike. It's a 2-action melee attack, and you add the damage from your harm or heal spell from your divine font.
What the fuck? Why does the cleric get a better smite than the fucking paladin? The paladin smite's so boring. It's like such little damage. It's like, oh, it's statistically better than your normal thing, but it's less damage. You're not doing the big number. Useless.
I just thought that was really, really interesting. Yeah, let's see.
That is
Divine,
interesting, honestly.
champion smite evil. Your blade becomes your ally. Yada yada. You do 4 extra good damage. 6 of your master proficiency.
Ugh. Where's the 8?
Where's the D8s?
Where's the D8? Let me just roll 1 D8. I don't care if that's worse. Just let me roll a D8 at least. Maybe 2 D8 if it's feeling a little spicy.
But yeah, no. Ironically, just play cleric because channel smite lets you
Guess I'll
roll
have to.
D8s. You just roll D8 negative or positive damage.
All right. Well,
And
I
you
guess
roll a number equal to
I'm
your
not
spell
playing.
level, so.
I guess I'm not playing a summoner next game.
Playing smite cleric. Here we go.
No, Devin. Smite Evil is bad, and as the co-host here, I am correct.
You're just a viewer. What do you know?
We have had this argument many times.
Yeah.
You've been there for a good chunk of them.
It's true. You can, yeah, that's true. If you just focus, if you just boost charisma for your build, that's like all you need for the channel smite. That's super funny. You can do a better paladin and cleric than champion.
Yeah, honestly. You know what's actually cool with that? I was already looking into cleric because I think a lot of the options cleric has is really interesting. I've just never gotten around to making a character for it. Like I think cleric stuff is honestly pretty cool.
I think I can't wait to make the video for it. I was gonna do it for Saturday, but gotta get that clicks on the cultist and psychic while they're fresh.
Get that clickbait.
Gotta get it. Honestly, this table talk has not gotten as many viewers as I thought it was going to.
I mean, maybe it'll get some after the fact.
Maybe. I mean, that's... honestly, actually, if I look at it, yeah, the game we ran yesterday got 11 clicks after the fact.
Yeah, people are checking it out.
11 people just went in and checked it out.
Yeah, remember when we were talking about it, 166 people clicked the why bards fuck video.
Yeah, I think it's more now. Oh no, No, it was 166 yesterday, but like
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
yeah, it's 166. It's quick approaching my top 5 videos.
Hell yeah.
The Druid ones is doing okay. It's like 22 yesterday. It's like 29 today. We'll see.
Yeah, you know, I think it's because I don't know, maybe YouTube liked the penis thumbnail you made for Bards.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I love that series because literally it's just sitting down looking at the things in the game and be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. At things that like when you first start playing, you're just like, it's kind of not that good. Slug was talking about because there are Kitsune in our Tuesday game now, and they get a feat, ancestry feat at level 9, and the way level 9 Kitsune feat is Fox Trick, and it's just a free action. You can create a diversion. What is it? I'm looking it up. You can create a diversion, conceal an object, or hide as a free action. And everyone's like, you know, like compared to other ancestry feats, it's okay. But then we looked at it. It lets you hide as a free action.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really good, actually.
That'd be so helpful when I was playing Calden.
Exactly. You could have been in the crowd and hid as a free action.
I was going to do that, by the way. The combat didn't work that way, but I was going to like delve into the crowd and like fucking like hunt down what's his face? God, I'm really bad at remembering his name because every time I wanted to say it, it was already passed in the Roll20, so I had to like scroll up to read his name. Ah, shit. The fucking bounty hunter guy. Every time. Vorgath, that's it, yeah. Every time, like, I really wanted to, like, hunt him in the crowd as he hunted me in the crowd. That would have been super cool, but it didn't happen that way. And I could have done that with that ability a little easier.
Yeah, it was just because, like, Pila was in a bad position and then decided to attack those guards from, like, right next to her. She should have bid her time and, like, got to the other side of the room or something. And then started doing things. But it's okay.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
I will never make a fight where you have to play optimally to win. So. But yeah, like we were looking at it, and it's just like one of those things. At first, you're just like, you know, create a diversion, conceal an object, or hide as a free action is okay. But then you think about it, like you like really think about it. Hide as a free action is really, really good.
Yes, like I would love that in a 5e rogue.
Oh, they don't have free act. Well, I guess they have free actions in a way.
Oh, they're bonus actions, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, they have a bonus action stealth. But, you know, like, that's what I love about the series. You can take literally any class and look at them, and when you look at them with just enough, like, knowledge on the system, you start understanding how broken they are. Like, Bard's Dirge of Doom is still like my favorite ability in the game. A 30-foot emanation automatic frighten with no skill save. Just everything the enemy has is one less.
Oh, great ability.
It's really, really good. And the fact that Bards, like, if they take versatile performance, they can use their performance for pretty much intimidation, diplomacy, and one other one. I see is demoralize, and disguise. They can use their performance for those three actions, and then they can use their performance, the proficiency in their performance, like their trained proficiency, for getting feats in intimidation, diplomacy, and deception.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's really cool, and it just makes performance like their omni stat, and that's a really, really cool feature.
Yeah.
lets you focus. You can do other things. You can still be a face and still do other things. It's really, really good. And that's just what I love about the series is there's so much people don't know about the game, that they don't understand how good it is. But once you play it some more, and once you figure things out, some feats that you're looking at that like you're like, meh, I'm not too into that one. Just like realize you're saying that you're not into a feat that like lets you do something for free that's really, really good and that you use like literally all the time. And there's like some other feats as well that like I think are a little underplayed. Like quick squeeze is one of them.
Yeah, I don't never really consider it until I need to squeeze through something.
Until you need to squeeze through something. But when you do, quick squeeze is really, really good. Yeah, I mean, there's still some feats that you look at and you're just like, why would I pick that up? But they're very far and few between. I think once you learn the system, you realize a lot more feats are actually just really, really good.
Yeah, true. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is just, it's a question of like, because I have the question of a lot of like, that sounds fun. When is that applicable? Like, when would that ever come up for? Because those are the two questions I ask for it. Like, would my character have this feat? And is this going to happen? Like, is this just gonna be a thing? Because like, then I want to get something that'll actually affect my character because I want something new for a level up.
Yeah, and that's just the thing, is just like functionality. We've kind of dived away from our original topic of meta.
Yeah, that's true.
Just talking about just how everything is great, and that's the point. There's so many great things in the game, and we're not talking about the meta. You know, if we can be just as hyped about non-meta things for their functionality, so can anyone else. You know, because the story is made up of more than just beating skill checks.
Yeah, I mean, I also for example, like with Calden, I took feats that were just aesthetic. I just took because I thought they were aesthetically cool. Like I used quick draw a lot, but only as like an aesthetic tool for a thing I was doing.
Really, yeah.
Like, I assume there's a use for quick draw. I haven't found it. I thought I found it fun to describe my actions and click the feat.
Yeah. Well, quick draw is really good when my optional rule isn't in play, because the optional rule I had is that you can move and draw a weapon at the same time, which I think is just a good rule because it makes the game so much better.
I agree.
Quick draw is really good if you don't move anywhere and you have to swap weapons. And something I'm trying to like teach the Tuesday game as they're going along is if you have multiple weapons. Like if you have a weapon that works against an enemy in particular, or you have a weapon that has a really good effect, you can just stow your weapon as a free action, quick draw, and attack in the same action. Because like one of the great things about Pathfinder is the game actually really motivates you to use different magic items in a certain scenario. Especially when it comes to like invested items, like anything you wear, because you don't have to spend like 10 minutes to invest in them. You invest in the same time it takes to put them on. So it's just like, oh, okay, we're suddenly like, it suddenly went dark. I pull out my night vision goggles and put them on, you know. Bam, one action to put on an item.
It's a good way to do it. Like, it's more fun.
And it lets you have the right tools for a situation. You can pull out different weapons. Quick draw is one of those where you can, if you have a dagger that is really kind of shitty for like its normal attacks. I think like Dagger of Venom, I think is one of those. Like it's a +1 striking dagger, which is okay. Yeah. But you could have like a better dagger, but you can be like, all right, I quick draw my Dagger Venom and activate it and slash them for like the once a day effect it has. And then you can stow it as a free action.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like at least it's another thing of like I think it's a bit more fun, like if you can just swap around weapons a little easier in Pathfinder or just any tabletop stuff, or just swap stuff around because it makes it more fun. Like to play the character that's like a fuck ton of weapons for every situation.
Yeah,
Weapon master kind of deal.
That's why I really like the rule I have, because stowing is in game a free action. Drawing a weapon is an action though, which is really lame. So just being able to move and do that just allows you to. I have my crossbow. I shoot him. I stow it as a free action, and I run up on him and pull out my falchion, and then strike him. You know.
Yeah.
Like you can do that, and it works really really well. Man, Vogath had some really good stat synergy. Being able, I didn't realize that running reload lets you stealth and reload at the same time. I always thought it was just stride or step and reload your crossbow as a single action. But the fact that it lets you stealth is really, really good.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, that's really handy. Like thinking about it.
Yeah, it's really good, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's that's what let Vogat just pop in and out of the crowd and shoot you guys.
Yeah,
I really wish
good.
I had like I couldn't find like a background item that looked like a crowd of people. To
Sounds
like
it'd be kind of hard to do and like have it look
unless
good.
you have like something pre-made for you, which I can imagine making it. There wasn't any like free resource out there for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that just broke the immersion in the scene, because like the room looked empty, but like in game it was supposed to be full of people. But I can't have like a bazillion tokens on the map, because then
that
it
would
just looks.
That'd be really busy and bad looking.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing. There's like sometimes some things happen that break the immersion because doing it otherwise would look like garbage.
That's just how it is. But, you know, like, I think we're kind of getting to the end here, just kind of as a bit of a closing, like, statement. As far as, like, any game is concerned, a story is made up of a series of unlikely events happening, and a character should not be prepared for all of them. And it's more rewarding. That's good, Slug. It's more rewarding when your character comes across something by accident that they're actually like super geared towards.
Yeah.
That happened in my Tuesday game. We rolled a random encounter, and the group came across a bunch of faceless stalkers that were disguised as like some hunter warriors out in the field.
Ooh.
And one of the characters, the Kitsune character I mentioned before, has an ability where they just recognize a character is shapeshifted if they get within 10 feet of them automatically. Or not automatically. Technically, if they get within 10 feet of them, the GM rolls a secret perception check for you to recognize that the characters were transformed. And it's just a feat that like you never think is going to come up, and then it just suddenly came up because of a random encounter we rolled.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, and the player felt really, really good in that moment about it. They're just like, I'm so glad that I got to use this feat that I never thought I was going to get to use. And it's just like, bam. Exactly.
You know, it doesn't come up insanely often, but I've never really had like charming liar happen and like come up. But oh boy, when it happens.
Yeah,
I'll be very happy
like,
about it.
I rolled my deception to insight them instead, and my character's a really good liar. And the DM's like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
The meta is just having fun with your build, doing things that are off the wall, and just making sure everyone has a fun time. When everyone at the end of the session comes through and they're just like, oh man, I loved it when your character did this thing and that they had the feat for it or whatever. Or, you know, you're just like, oh man, I can't believe that actually worked. And we just had everything kind of click together. Like, when everyone is just, after the session, excited for each other's characters and and everything, and the DM is just sitting there like, yes, I love that they came to these challenges and they just brought the right tools for it. Like, you won the game. That's how you win the game. You don't win the game by one-shotting encounters. You won the game by just having the most fun you could have as a group.
Yeah. When people enjoy the thing you did and the DM made and just talking excitedly about it afterwards.
like Garvey, if you can make people cry when your character dies at the end of a game,
did something right.
You did something right. And like, hell, even the new Slate game that ended yesterday, like, I don't know if it was only me, but I'm pretty sure some other people felt like, oh my god, it's over, you know?
Yeah.
Afterwards.
It was like, it was one of those things where it was like, man, I mean, it's always like that when a game ends. You're just like, oh wow, it's over. Like, something we spent like a good chunk of time doing just is done. We closed this book and ready for the new one. It's a very interesting feeling. Yeah, I mean, I was sad to see it like see it go, but on the other hand, like, nice to see it go because I have things I gotta do, but also nice that we got to end a game because it's always nice to finish a game rather than let it just fade away.
For real, how many times has anyone here in chat or in this call right now who've been in a game and it just didn't end and it just feels bad?
Not crazy often, admittedly, but that's because
you got lucky.
I got very
lucky.
I am spoiled. That is what this all is.
Yeah, that's true. You got really spoiled in your tabletop experience.
Yeah.
You got some really good role players and a really good DM for like a lot of your first games.
True.
Devin and I can tell you for a fact. I mean, one, I wasn't always a great DM, and I ended a lot of games early because I lost the feeling for them, lost the rhythm for them. And we played it with games in the past that like some of the other players weren't that great. Hell, me and Devin have played with someone who's now in prison for killing someone. So
okay.
Just to show, like, and they were not a fun person to play with.
Yeah, I would expect not.
So, you know, that's gonna be like a story now. Just like, I used to play with someone who is in jail now for stabbing someone 62 times.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Yeah. It's such a surreal feeling.
Yeah, I agree with Slug. You can't just drop that. Like...
Yeah, I'm not gonna give names.
Yeah, of course.
It's not my place to do so.
Yeah.
For those who know, you know, and for those who don't, you know, like, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, we have been in some not as great games, not as great people, and there's your clickbait, though.
Yeah, honestly.
I used to play with the murderer.
That is great. You would get so many fucking clicks.
Yeah, for real.
Just do some shitty animation, like a story time animation. Like, and you fucking 1,000 million views, you're good.
I might do like a tabletop, like, horror stories, or like a tabletop, like, story time thing. I'll do it a little later when clickbait is gonna make me more money.
Yeah. It's a safe thing to do.
Yeah. But like, yeah, just be like, gotta get those thumbnails in right now.
Yeah, the mouth open, hands on face. Gotta do it.
Yeah. It's just, but you know, so you got really, really lucky that some of your first experiences were with a group that was a lot more experienced and a lot steadier, honestly.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
Our group consistency has also been weirdly consistent.
Yeah.
Like, you might feel that, like, it's been not the most consistent, but, like, we've been in games where they just ended because people just weren't there ever.
Yeah.
And fortunately nowadays that almost never happens.
It's very, very nice. Like, honestly, it's there. I don't know. It feels like I don't know. It feels like I should show up to these things, like in a very good way, because it's like, I should show up to the thing I really like doing with my friends. I like playing like D&D with. It's a great environment, and it's like it's the kind of environment where I want to attend every week, like, and that's a very good thing. And I've had those games, and they always annoy me where it's like, we start at this time, and you're like an hour, everyone's an hour or so late. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that either. It really bothers me. I think we've gotten a lot better about it.
Yeah, honestly.
Recently, but
I also at least have a major anxiety with being late because of when I didn't have like could drive because I was a child. My parents always made me late to things. Probably not fully on them, but like it's just the kind of thing of like when you arrive late a bunch of things as a kid. Like I am a king at arriving on time every time because gotta do it, otherwise I get very stressed out.
I'm always like a minute late.
Yeah.
But I'm never more than a minute late usually.
A minute late's fine, like, because that could be attributed to like clocks being at different speeds. Like that's a forgivable thing. Someone's like 30 minutes late. It's like, I hope there's like for a reason.
They better come in an arm cast, or I'm gonna be angry.
But yeah.
And I think something as well, just kind of because you mentioned like you feel like you should come in a good way.
Yeah,
like,
honestly. It's a thing we do every week. Like it's the thing we do.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is for anyone out there, if you're seeing this post to Factor now, if you feel like you need a break from tabletop, take a break from tabletop.
Yes.
Having a month off, having a few months off, even taking like a year or two off, like you can still come back. Your tables will still be there sometimes. The game will still be there at least.
I know I've had to take time off. That happened recently because I overloaded myself with too many games.
Yeah.
And I had to take a break because it was too much. And all those games were fun. I don't regret joining them in the slightest. It's just, it was the kind of thing of I had to take a break from tabletop or I'd start to hate the thing I love. And that's an important thing to catch because that's like, it sucks to hate the thing you love. And taking a break is very important. So if you feel yourself like burning the candle on both ends, like take a step back. If they're truly like not shitheads, your friends and like tabletop friends will understand that and agree with you. So like, yeah, take that step. Make sure that you like take care of yourself first.
It's really important to pace yourself. Even I, who's like trying to make this like my career, and I've been doing this for like 20 plus years. There's been plenty of years where I didn't do it. In that time, I haven't played it straight 20 years every week for 20 years. There's been lots of times where I couldn't even get in a game that played every week, and we played like once a month. So like if you want to do it long term, pace yourself. But also, if you're trying to do it long term and you feel like you needed a break, take a break. It's a game that's funner when you want to be there and coming doesn't give you anxiety.
Exactly.
If you're going to any session and you feel bad about it, really ask yourself, like, why? And address it. Yeah. And it will be better for everyone. Even if it's like swapping your character, like, even though a lot of people feel like it's very disruptive for a game, I'll tell you, it's a lot better to play the character that you're jiving a little better with than to force yourself to play a character that you're just kind of having character failure on.
Yep.
And I think that's a good note to end on.
Sure.
Take care, everyone. Good luck in your games. And I hope you all enjoy. Yeah, Alexi, that's a good one. If you enjoy content like this, please subscribe and or follow and or like or whatever on Facebook. I don't exactly know. To see more amazing content like this. Also, we are going to be having a 3-week break on the Wednesday game before the next campaign. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to make an announcement on my Discord that you can go find in the description and or below the Twitch. And you can join us. I'm going to announce that I'm recruiting for it. And I'll get probably the first 5 people. And the first 5 people who message me, please do not message me beforehand. I want to make sure that everyone gets an equal chance to actually do so. So starting tomorrow, when you see that announcement, come on in, check us out, and check out the Discord in general. We just got a new person like the other day. We're ever growing, and just a bunch of people who like tabletop. So, check us out there. Beyond that, look forward to Saturday. I am producing a video about the new classes coming out for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the Occultist and the Psychic. And I'm going to be giving my impressions. They have character art for these characters, and also what my predictions are for how they're going to play and what kind of rules we're going to look at. So check it out on my YouTube Saturday. You'll see it there. Beyond that, I don't have anything else. So let's go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night. I was waiting for, the thing that I could explain.
I know. Funny joke.
You ruined my fun.
That's what I'm here for. I'm the DM.
No.
Good night, everyone.